Good afternoon, my people. Some breaking news around the league. Obviously, it hasn't happened yet. This is Big Facts. I'm Aaron Barrison, going live for a little bit without Justin. Justin and I go back and forth on Ben Simmons all the time. Me and Justin do not agree on the value of Ben Simmons. And there's a big case to be made defensively for Ben Simmons. There's a case to be made as far as a passer goes with Ben Simmons. Let's break this down because I think Sixers fans, and it's obvious, I know, Sixers fans seem to value Ben Simmons higher than pretty much every other team in the league, every other fan base in the league does. And part of that is because he was our number one overall pick. I remember when we were waiting for the draft lottery to take place that year, and everybody knew that Ben Simmons was going to be the first pick. Brandon Ingram was talked about as being the second pick, but Ben was going to go first overall. And when we landed that first overall pick, Philadelphia cheered like they just won a playoff game. They were so amped up. It was on every TV in Philadelphia. And so we've attached ourselves to that pick. We were so hyped to get it. And there's two different reports coming out for James Harden and the 76ers. One is has to do with Tobias Harris and basically depleting our bench. And the other one has to do with Ben Simmons and a combination of Tyrese Maxey and Matisse Thybulle. There's something different going on than, in the 76ers building than the last couple years. One of them is a difference in scheme. We're seeing Matisse Thybulle get less time on the floor because it just doesn't quite fit what Doc Rivers does. For Brett Brown being the defensive-minded coach and trying to develop three-point shooters because he didn't have any, Matisse was a good option last year. He's seen his minutes go down this year. He's still in the game in late-game situations as a defender on that side of the floor, but he just doesn't bring you that much offensively. So people are concerned with Ben Simmons and Maxey going for Harden. And the reason they're concerned is because they don't want to give up Maxey, but they're also overvaluing Ben Simmons, overvaluing him in a way that the rest of the league does not. For a number one pick, if you told me that for his career, he was going to average 16 and 8, most of us before the draft would have been disappointed. The number one overall pick, 6'11", best passer in college that they've seen in a while, one of the best prospects they've seen in a while. We were talking about Ben Simmons as being on par with what we thought LeBron James was at the time he got drafted. We thought he had the potential to be the best player in the league. 5 years into his career, he won't do the one thing in basketball that you need to do, which is shoot. Last night, another down game for Ben Simmons. He has these basically one out of every 2 to 3 games at this point. And Justin sits here and he tries to sit across from me and explain to me that, and I watch the games. I know what Ben Simmons does defensively. I know what he does as a point forward. But when you're 6'11", Embiid's in his prime, you have the floor spread out, and you still can't manage to get up more than a couple shots a game and score 6 points, I've seen enough. And for me, we're basing this trade of not wanting to do it off of Tyrese Maxey's potential. James Harden's been one of the 2 best scorers in the NBA for the last 5 seasons. If your excuse for not wanting James Harden is that he's a 31-year-old aging out-of-shape superstar, I would argue that this is probably the only way he could have forced his way out of Houston. He's uninterested, he's out of shape, and somehow he still gets whatever shot he wants. He will work his way back into shape. I'm not concerned with that. The other concern was that you're giving up the future for the present. And I'm going to tell you this. you are never going to see Joel Embiid after these next 2 or 3 seasons be as good as he is right now. This is the first time through 10 games that Joel Embiid is maybe the front runner for MVP at this point, probably top 3 defensive player in the league, your closer on the court, and if you don't win right now, I don't care about the future. The Eagles did it. They leveraged their entire future. Their cap space got pushed back, and they ended up winning a Super Bowl. If you want to see the Sixers win an NBA Finals, pairing James Harden with Joel Embiid is going to give you much, much more than keeping Simmons and Maxey. And by the way, we're going to get more back for that. There's pieces that need to be added. There's pieces that are being worked out, talked about. It's not just going to be Harden. It's going to be, Eric Gordon or PJ Tucker or whatever the case might be. The other point that I have to bring up is that James Harden actually seems to make centers better. Clint Capella was talked about for a couple years as one of the better defenders in the league and one of the best centers in the league. Joel is doing so much on the offensive end right now that I think it actually kind of takes away from his defense. But he's been playing really well. He seems to be in shape. He had gas in overtime last night. If you can take the burden of scoring just a little bit off Joel Embiid, you are going to see this guy start flying around the floor. Was in Houston for 6 seasons. After his first 2 seasons in 2016, 2017, he really started to explode. His best season with Houston 2 years ago, he averaged almost 17 points and 13 rebounds. He left. He went to Atlanta, and they have a lot of space over in Atlanta. Trae Young's over there. You have to remember, he's now averaging 10 points a game. Christian Wood is being talked about as one of the up-and-coming centers in the league right now. Christian Wood came from he's been on a lot of teams. We drafted him, I believe. He averaged 13 points a game last year, moves over to Houston, is now averaging 22 points per game with James Harden there. Harden has been carrying a bad, mostly bad. They had a year where they had a kind of a stacked core, and they went and competed with the Golden State Warriors. Took Golden State 7 games to beat them. They were up 3-1 in that series. Chris Paul gets injured. The rest is history. They were competing with one of the best, what we call and what we'll see as one of the best teams of all time. Since then, it's been Russell Westbrook, who is averaging a triple-double almost in Washington. And with him on the court, the Wizards are 1-6. Russell Westbrook's not really a winner. James Harden will play his way back into shape. I promise you that when Ben Simmons' contract is up, which is in 3 years, he will not be staying. So if you're talking about leveraging a future for wanting to win right now, I want to win an NBA championship. Daryl Morey wants to win an NBA championship. Doc Rivers wants to win an NBA championship. None of those jobs are guaranteed in 2 to 3 years. You can bet your ass that if they have to give up Ben Simmons and Tyrese Maxey, they're going to be willing to do that. I would rather see them give up 2 players or 3 players and get 2 back than I would 1 player and almost our entire bench. So that's my thoughts on that. I think Tyrese Maxey is going to be a good player. I do. I'm high on him, just like every other Sixers fan is. Great pick in the late first round. And I think he has a chance to average at some point in his career 20 to 24 points a game. But we're talking about a guy in James Harden that has months where he averages 40 points and years where he averages 36. I think it takes a lot of pressure off Joel, the brunt of the scoring off Joel and Toby, spreads the floor more. And the big thing, guys, is when you get to the playoffs, you can't sag 5 to 10 feet off James Harden. For whatever reason, Ben Simmons won't shoot the ball. He's 5 years into the league. He's not going to shoot the ball consistently. He might pop 1 or 2 every 10 to 20 games. That's not going to get it done in the playoffs against the good teams. I think Daryl and Doc are smart enough to know that if you get James Harden right now at a place where he's unhappy and you bring him over to Philadelphia and he gets to play with a guy like Joel Embiid and still have a guy like Tobias Harris spreading the floor with Seth Curry, we're going to watch this team certain games put up 130 points, 120 points consistently. It's going to open up the floor for Harden as well. Imagine a late bucket we're trying to get, and you have the option of choosing either Joel or James Harden to get you that bucket. We only have one option right now. So I'm down for the trade. I would give up Ben and Maxey. Again, it's because I think we are way overvaluing Ben Simmons. He's a 16-8 guy who's a great defender. Every point guard in the league can pass. And by the way, there's rumors going around that he has a bad knee, which would explain a little bit of drop-off in play. He fouled out last night with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and the Sixers seem to perform offensively better without him. So, yes, I will give up the defense for the offense. James Harden is a great passer as well. James Harden can play the point. There will be another player that comes over from Houston with James Harden. It won't just be Harden, and we'll have to leverage some picks. But Daryl Morey knows what he's doing. I trust that Daryl Morey will make the right decision. I'd like to see James Harden in a Philadelphia 76 uniform. I don't want to waste Joel Embiid's prime, and I think it will actually increase his MVP talk when it comes down towards the end of the season and take a lot of pressure off them offensively. That's all I got for you guys. Questions, comments, leave them. I'm excited to see what happens. Maybe we get a steal that we're not even seeing. Maybe something's worked out that we're not even seeing. But if you're saying I will give up Ben Simmons and Maxey for James Harden, I would give up Ben Simmons and Maxey for James Harden. That's all I got. Big facts, every streaming platform. If this news breaks, I'll go live again. We'll talk about it. Any questions, comments, message me, comment them, and we'll get it popping. See you guys.